Texas!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 122 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, Katie, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Grace and EJ.
Hello.
Hi guys.
Today we will be talking about Season 5, Episode 3 of Lone Star, titled C12. There is so much to freaking talk about, like, very much. So,
Yeah.
and you guys know how we like to talk.
Oh, we're going to be chattering this episode.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm sure
Oh,
we
yeah.
will be.
So yeah, let's just get to it. Okay, so they kind of started with a recap of like sort of what happened like at the very end of the last episode.
Mhm.
So obviously we saw like Marjan calling the Mayday and like saying how like the tanker is about to blow, and then obviously we see the explosion and everyone like flying back, including Marjan, and they made it look real scary at the end of last episode. So we start off after that explosion, and you hear Wyatt saying like, firefighter Marwani, do you copy? Like, letter 126, do you copy? Engine 126, do you copy? Captain Trent, do you copy? And nobody is like, nobody is redoing or calling back. And this is like such a callback to the pilot, like with Grace, when she was just
Yeah.
like said basically the same thing when the explosion happened with the old 126. And I was just like, wow, that took me back.
Right. I was just telling Grace about that before you got on. I was like, that was like such a callback to the pilot.
Oh yeah. I was just sitting here like, we've been here before. This is not unusual. We have been here before.
Yes, we have. But then, like, after like a minute or two, Owen comes to and sees like all the firefighters down, and then has like ringing in his ears, and like Paul is trying to get his attention, and he's kind of like still has that ring. But then eventually, he does like he's like, oh yeah, I'm good, and then they're like looking for Marjan, they're like calling her, and I'm like, it took a minute, but then she's like, oh, I'm okay. And then they all have to like check to see if they have like shrapnel wounds, but they're all good and stuff, like there's nothing there. And Owen asks like where their water is, and Marjan tells him that the supply lines burst seconds before the explosion, so that's not good. And
Yep.
so Owen then orders Marjan to restart the supply lines, Paul to radio dispatch and tell them that they have multiple firefighters down. Mateo and Owen are going to help with triage, and then all of a sudden they disperse, and these crows start falling dead out of the air, and Mateo's just like, "What the hell?" Like. And like then he was like to Owen, he's like, I think I found your shrapnel injury. It's like this tanker that is leaking the chlorine gas. And I'm like, yeah, that is that right there. Not good. Not good at all.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, we see this cloud like of gas just coming out of there. And I'm just like, yeah. And I
At
love
least it's like you could see it, because most gases are like invisible, like you can't always
Yeah.
see it, but this was green, like you could tell.
yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah. And I just Owen's like, dispatch, we have a problem. And I'm like, you sure do.
Right.
Yeah, sure do. You can say that again, Buster.
And then we go
Yeah.
to the call center, and Sarah is updating everyone, and she told like all the dispatchers that they have an 18,000 gallon tanker car spewing chlorine gas out of a 3-foot crack of 600 psi. Basically, it's a poisonous cloud of death. And then like Wyatt is like they're like looking at the path of where it's gonna go or whatever and stuff. And so like they basically have to do reverse 911 and get people to evacuate, because they already evacuated like the local community college, and now it's gonna go towards the elementary school, which we already knew. But yeah, that is not good.
Yeah. No one's having a lot of fun right now.
Yeah, pretty much. And then Judd is, going on this trucking trial, whatever, like his
Yeah.
trial run, and I'm just like, what's going on? Like I literally could care less. I'm like, Judd, please just come home. And so that's happening, and then all of a sudden they see this chlorine gas, like they see it in the air, and the guy that's like gave him the job or whatever, Mr. Bradford, is like, what the hell is that? And Judd just asks him to switch the CB over to 851. And he's like, what is this? And he's like, oh, it's the fire command channel. And I'm like, of
Mhm.
course, of course.
Naturally.
I'm like, Judd's not going to see something going on and not jump on the fire
Oh
station
yeah.
channel.
I know. It reminds me, like, not the same, but like it reminds me when Billy was out and he was literally
Yeah.
listening to it on his phone.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
Like, there's an app for everything.
I know.
Yeah. Yep,
Yep.
there is.
That is true. So Judd is hearing like what's going on and like about multiple injuries and like hazmat and like Mr. Bradford's like asking, oh, what does this mean? And Judd's like, this means we need to take a detour. And I'm
And I was
just
like, okay, Judd, roll up.
okay, yeah. And yeah, so back to like the chlorine gas, they need to find something to basically fill the hole. And it's like, well, we have this whole like these train cars that are full of like different things, different materials, because they were carrying like all these different things. So it's like, oh, let's just see what we have around here. And like, let's just see what we can find. So they have to, do that. And it like triage like Tommy is like they're bringing the patients from like the obviously the explosion to the different RA units. They're basically just like transporting them and stuff, and like they're updating on them. And then they find another guy, like one of the firefighters does, and he's like, wait, we have another one, like, wait. And then they realize he's media. And when the guy
Mm,
when the guy like wakes up, he's like, where's Trina? Like Trina, he kept saying Trina, and Tommy's like, who's Trina? And so they're like, oh wait. And so then we see like the back half of the scene that we saw before. So we see Trina, the reporter, in the woods and her grabbing the little boy. Only this time we see the little boy Anthony running like towards the school for help. He's like, help, help, holding his arm. And they're like, oh, did the boys do this to you? And then
Right.
all he says is, the monster did it.
Yeah.
I mean,
mm.
I felt for him this whole episode. I'm like, oh.
This kid's really having a rough day, Alban. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this burn is nasty. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's bad.
Oh yeah.
Chemical
like-
burns are nasty for sure.
And it was like the principal and like I think a teacher or something. And just when the principal was about to call 911, they called her, and they were like, this is 911, and she's like, I was just about to call you. And so like she tells
Like-
Wyatt about like how he has like this chemical burn, and so like Wyatt's like asking if it's like blistered with like white lesions on it, and she's like, yep. And she's just like, how did you know? And Wyatt explains about how the chlorine gas is like coming towards their school. They're gonna have to like evacuate the kids and stuff. And she's like, if it's like, because they were saying like how far away it is, like it should be like 18 minutes or something away. She's like, well, if it's that far away, how does he have a burn already? And Wyatt's like, well, it's not an exact science, so like I really don't know.
Yeah.
And like they're just gonna like obviously like send the buses to like evacuate, and so the principal
Like-
has to like alert everyone of this.
But like, really good question. Like, if it's that far away, why does he have a burn? Because that is really the question.
Yeah. Exactly.
And also, like, why is he the only one affected?
Right.
Wait,
And I was like, you were adults, and I get you're going through a lot, but how did you not put two and two together? I'm like, this kid's got a burn that didn't just come out of thin air. And
Yeah.
it's currently too far away from the, current gas cloud to, have gotten this far. So where did it come from?
I mean,
Yeah,
it sounded
seriously.
like they. I don't know if I like understood this correctly, but I didn't think like the people at school knew about the train derailment.
No, I think like
Yes.
the 911 call was like Wyatt calling them was like them being like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because
First
like
time they heard about it.
yeah, because like they had just evacuated like other places that like obviously the cloud was shifting that way, so they were evacuating those places and stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Tommy, TK, and Nancy like finish triaging everyone, and like they stop for a minute to check their phones, and then Tommy gets a text from like her normal sitter that she uses, and she's out of town because apparently the girls have like a day off of school, so they needed somebody to watch them since Tommy won't be home, and she's like, her and Trevor aren't speaking currently. So there's that.
Mhm.
And Judd can't because he has like this trial thing. And I love TK. TK being the man to solve the
Yep.
problem, being like, don't sweat it, Cap. I know
So
the perfect
excited.
guy for you. And I'm like, well, I had seen the sneak peek like
me
that they
too.
released like the last Friday before this episode aired, so I knew what was coming. But just seeing that, just being like, I got the guy for you, I was like, I already know where this is going, and I already love it.
Oh yeah, it was
And
amazing. I loved seeing it. I was like, babysitter Carlos.
I know, I love it. And then they get a call from Wyatt on the radio, and he needs them to go to the elementary school because there's a boy that has chemical burns, of course. And Tommy says that they can't just leave. And then Wyatt explains like the situation, and she's like, "Yeah, we're on our way."
Yeah.
Which we love.
Mhm.
And back to the whole chlorine mess thing. So they got whatever supplies they needed, and Owen's like, "Oh, we'll seal it," but then he had to go, and I just love Owen being like telling like the one guy, he's like, yeah, Owen's needed, and he's like, "I'm a little busy in this pipe." He's like, "They're not asking, Owen. They're not asking." Yeah.
Well, it's
They
tough.
never are.
Yeah, I mean, because they usually have. It's tough because normally Owen is just helping out. He's not usually the incident commander, so he needs to kind of be there to or coordinate things. And but he likes getting his hands dirty.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. It's
Again,
fun. Yeah, it
it's
is
always
funny.
for first unit on scene that's icy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's
and
true.
that's yeah, he's definitely been icy before, but in this thing, I think it's just like it's just a different sort of risk and a risk that he's not unfamiliar with, having, lost his entire house before and all that. So he wants to be the one throwing himself into danger, but he can't.
Yeah,
Right.
that is the one thing that's different than most shows is like a lot of the times like when it comes to like the super dangerous things, like Owen most likely does it, where in other shows like you'll see like the captain or the chief, whoever it might be, like literally just be the instant commander. But Owen's like, no, I'm doing this, which obviously it comes
Mhm.
from perspective and stuff like that. So,
Right.
And it's
but
very admirable as well. Like,
for sure.
yeah, that's always been something I've really liked about him.
And then Owen then asks for a volunteer. Obviously, Marjan and Paul both raise their hands. And
Obviously.
Owen says this task won't be any like put anyone ahead on like becoming a lieutenant. This does not mean you're the next lieutenant just because you're raising your hand. And then he's like
Right.
asking for them to like tell him a number, and Marjan got it. So it's like, okay, you're up. And Owen warns her that like if your PP is like it's not meant to hold up to chlorine gas, so if it's leaking, just holler. And we all know how this is gonna go.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we're familiar.
yeah. And so they have to like basically they put this plate down to try to seal it and then, secure it or whatever. And like Owen's seeing what's happening, and it's like, oh, you're getting too exposed because like the chlorine cloud is literally like
Right.
basically right on top of them. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's bad. And Marjan goes, "Oh, my gear is holding up." And Owen sees what's
Mhm.
happening because of how bad it's happening. And he's like, "Take me to the site." And
He
so
was like,
Owen,
fuck instinct command. I don't care.
yeah, literally. And so they got it in place, and finally, just as Owen gets there, Owen says like, "That's a hell of a stunt. You should be thankful that you pulled it off." And then Marsha is like, "You know how I said my gear was holding up? Yeah, I lied." She has heat burns all over her hands, and I'm like, "Yep, I saw that coming from like a mile or two away.
Oh
Like we
yeah.
all we all knew where this is gonna go." I was
Mm-hmm.
just like, "Yep, yep."
Like Marjan never changed, dear.
Yeah, literally.
Right.
So yeah, then we see our darling Carlos show up at Tommy's,
Mm.
and it's funny because he knocks on the door, and he thinks it's Evie, but it's Izzy at the door. And it's pretty funny. And Carlos is like, I'm not sure if you remember me, but I'm a friend of your mom's. I watched you a few years ago, and
A
Evie
few
walks
years ago,
up. That was like in at the end of
it was in
season
season
2.
2. I was like, holy smokes, that's been a while.
Yeah.
Mm,
Which,
yeah.
yeah, a few years. And it's funny because Evie walks up and is like, yeah, I remember during the dust storm. And Carlos tells them that there's nothing to worry about. Their mom's just going to be stuck at work a while longer, which obviously they knew about the train derailment. They were like, oh yeah, the train derailment. Reverend Parks told us about it, and Carlos is kind of looking at them puzzled and is like, Reverend Parks? Like, what? And there's Trevor, and we're just like, okay. And he's like, hey, Carlos, haven't seen you since the wedding. And I'm like, well, that's been
The
a
wedding.
year.
Do these people
It's-
never interact with each other?
It's so funny. And Carlos is just like, right. And he does not know what he's walking into. He's just like, okay. And then Trevor introduces Carlos to Melody, and she's like, you're fine. And because
I was
it's
like,
so
girl,
awkward.
say it.
I'm like,
I
same
mean,
girl.
I mean,
Y'all.
saying
He's
what
looking
everybody,
so
all
good.
of us are thinking.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. I think I would use a little bit stronger words than fine, but yes, he fine.
Hot.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where I thought it was hilarious, and
Oh,
obviously
I
Evie and Nisi were
died.
literally giggling at the fact that she goes, "You're fine." It's a little funny, and I'm just like, it was
And
great.
he's just like, thank you. I'm like,
I know.
yeah,
It's
I
like
mean,
you
I
don't
don't
know what to say to that. And Carlos tells Trevor that he didn't realize he was here. And he's like, oh, Tommy must have double booked us. And he tells the girls, like, don't go finish your homework. And they're like, right now, last time we got to paint Carlos's nails. And Melody's
I'm
just
like,
like, for real? And they're like, for real.
For real.
and I'm like, yeah, that tracks actually.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can
that
see him
does.
indulging that.
I mean, he has nieces and nephews, so I totally see that happening.
Not his
Um,
first time in the rodeo.
Exactly. And Carlos asks Trevor, like, what's going on? And Trevor tells him that Tommy didn't ask him to babysit because they're not speaking right now, but he knew the girls would need someone to watch them, so he came. And he's like, yeah, you suppose that could be considered trespassing? And Carlos is like, technically, it's kidnapping. And Trevor's like, huh, you're the expert. Can you just, if you have to arrest me, can you wait till their mother gets home? And Carlos is like, yeah, deal, but this time they're painting your nails. I love
I
It's
like
loved that.
Rafa
that
killed the
Carlos.
seed.
He's
Like
just been
for
killing it the
real.
whole season so
I
far.
mean, of course, but like I was just like
Of
the
course.
sass and the seed. I'm like I'm living for
Oh,
it.
of course.
But yeah, that I loved that whole scene. Like when it was released, obviously like only a little bit was released, but I literally watched it at least like 3 or 4 times. I was just like, I
Real.
love this.
Well, I love seeing Carlos outside of work.
Yeah. I also love seeing Carlos interact with other people that aren't TK or
Yeah.
aren't like central people of the 126. I think it's very like interesting and
Oh, yeah.
stuff. I love it.
We don't get a ton of minor character or like not minor characters necessarily, but like side characters interacting with our main characters there. So
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what Carlos is technically defined as. I don't think he's solidly a main now. Is he? I don't even know.
No,
Is he
he's
a main?
still a
Okay.
lead man.
Yeah.
He doesn't show as much as most of the other mains though, so I think that's why it like still feels like he's a little bit of a side character, even though he is not. But so having him, having Trevor and the girls, of course. I'm loving just getting that little bit of interaction that we don't always do.
Yeah, for sure. And then Owen reports saying like I see Strand, the patch is holding up, and the rest of the chlorine is locked up. And the captain is like, oh, good job. And Owen reminds him that like, oh, we're not out of it yet. And they still have a chlorine cloud to contend to. And we're gonna have to like secure the scene and get back to the rotation. And Owen says he's gonna need an RA for one of his firefighters, and he basically was like to Marchand, yeah, when that ambulance gets here, you're getting on it. which
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah.
And she didn't even try fighting it, I'm pretty sure. Like, she must have been
She knew
not.
she was she knew what was gonna happen if she did not.
Right.
Yeah.
And Winter was like reminding her, he's like, if your pee-pee starts to leak or get too intense, you bail. Do you remember me saying that? I love like dad mode here. And
Right.
Oh,
Marjan
yeah,
being
such a
like,
dad.
intense is like a subjective term cap. And Owen says that it was an order and she ignored it. And Marjan is asking like, oh, what would you do if you were in my position? And Owen's like, probably the same thing. And I'm like, yep,
Yeah, at
yep,
least he's
that's where she
honest.
got it from.
Yeah. Well, she had it of her own free right, but he certainly has not
Helps
helped
the
discourage it.
Yeah, that's very true. And I love Mateo running up and it's like telling Owen the water supply is back up and like he can start charging the lines. And Owen is like, "Good, let's mop up this mess and get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we had this like little moment where Paul is telling Marjan that she earned being lieutenant, and when Cap makes his announcement, he's gonna be so happy for her. He then says, you know what? How many people can say they work for their best friend, their bestie? And that was so sweet, but also like
I
Mm.
thought that
so
was
funny.
because obviously, we haven't seen them not be friends necessarily over this, but they've definitely been in rivalry to the point of not quite strain, but like almost putting it over their friendship. So I
Right.
don't know. I love seeing that. And even as competitive as they both are, and we know they're both competitive and they both want this position, like it's just so cute to say like them truly being okay with the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Uh
yeah,
yeah. I feel like that could be used to be learned just universally.
yeah. See, the articles before the season dropped, like they made it so dramatized, and like, yeah, there were tough
Mm.
moments of like when we saw that rivalry, but it was also like all in fun in a sense. Like it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
super tense, like they were making out like they were like Paul, Marjan are gonna go at it, and I'm like, okay, calm down, calm
Right.
down. And
Yeah.
like Marjan totally needed like a laugh in this moment because it's like, oh shit, this just happened. And
Mm-hmm.
like, but then Paul like gets a look, like obviously, like and stuff. Like he's looking around, and Paul's doing his thing. Let's just be real.
His thing! I have missed his
Thing.
thing.
I haven't really thought about that in a while, and honestly, that just popped in my head. And all of a sudden, he finds a hat in the rubble. Like it's like, how many people are going to look at this rubble of a mess and find this hat out of
Yeah.
everything that's in this pile?
And even think something of it other than, oh, that must have just, be some debris or whatever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he truly sat there and went, oh, wait a doggone second. That's not right.
Yeah. And then he's like, "Oh, who do you think this belongs to?" And it's like obviously somebody was on the train and they kind of both figure out that and oh, we know this as the viewers,
Right.
but
Mm.
they're like just trying to figure this out. And then we go to evacuating the school, they're getting the kids on buses, and then we see Captain Andrews, which has been forever since we've seen him. I honestly like a little bit forgot about him.
Wait, remind me who Captain Andrews is?
So remember when they like all got like when the 126 temporarily shut down after it was burned down, and then they were
Yeah.
all at like different stations.
122.
Yeah, the Judd Marjan and Paul are at the 122, and Captain
Right.
Andrews.
I forgot
That was
about
like the
him.
really nice firehouse that had like all these bells and whistles, and they were like, "Oh wait, we gotta get used to this."
Right.
I like only vaguely remember that, but I
He
do
was the
remember he
captain we
was really
liked.
cool.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah,
guy,
obviously.
I felt bad
No.
for him later because he got like dementia or whatever, and
Yeah,
he
he was
had to
still an asshole.
retire. But he was an asshole, so like I don't know what to say about that.
No, that was Mateo's
Eh.
captain.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I said Mateo's captain.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Or the
because
captain later or something like that, yeah.
no, I was saying
Yeah.
that Captain Andrews is the captain we like, and then the other captain was
Okay.
the asshole. That's
Yes.
what I
Okay.
was getting at.
Sorry. Like, I don't know where my brain is.
Oh, it's fine.
It's so fine. We all get it.
We're all functioning at some sort of capacity today, that's for sure.
We're not.
So,
It's gonna be a little loopy today.
so yeah, that's who Captain Andrews is. And then so he sees Captain Vega and he's like asking what they're doing there, and she explains how like they got the call about the kid with the burn, and he's like, oh well, the cloud is like 10 minutes away, so like you got to be out of here in 5. And Tommy's like, yeah, we'll work fast. And so yeah,
And you're like, no, you're not. You're not good.
we all know how this is gonna go because we've seen things. And yeah,
We've
this
seen things.
burn
That sounds so ominous. We've seen things.
I didn't mean it that way, but like totally yes. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like that bird is nasty, so they're cleaning it out, and like Tiki is like listening to his lungs, and he's like, "Oh, well, his lungs are clear, so he didn't inhale any of it," which we're all like, "Well, yeah."
Right.
And the principal is like asking how he could have got that burn, and then Nancy is like telling Tommy, "Oh, you might want to look at this." And so they're like looking at his hand, and the burn looks like a handprint. So they're like, "Oh, somebody grabbed him." And the principal
Mhm.
mentions how he kept saying that a monster did it. And Tommy asks him about it, and like he describes her, and she's like, "How did you know that it was a girl?" And he's like, "Because of her dress." So there was that. And then Paul and Marjan were looking for, obviously they find like this guy's hat. And so they're looking, and then they pull out, find a backpack then, and they're like looking through it. They're like, "Oh, he has a sweet tooth, okay." So and then they're like pulling out textbooks from UT El Paso, and they find like a poli-sci textbook or whatever. So like, okay, so now they have to like figure out where he is. And so like they're pulling up the manifest to figure out like what each car has. And then like they're like going through it, and then Paul like goes in the one that was like carrying the beer that has like obviously a lot of liquid in the actual car. And
Mhm.
they're like calling out, they haven't found anybody yet, but then the phone starts ringing, which kind of clues them, and Paul
Right.
answers it, and like obviously the screen's cracked, and who knows what else. And so like the guy can't hear him on, or the guy can't see him on the other line, it seems like he just can hear him, or at least that's what I took from it, because like he didn't know that Paul was there, because otherwise he would have been like firefighter, or at least I
Yeah.
would have thought he would have.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell either. Part of me thought that he could see him after like the screen cleared.
It could have been fuzzy too, and
Yeah.
then maybe he did, but like he didn't give any cues, or they didn't put any cues in there to make it think that he
Right.
could see them at any point, I thought. But Paul like answers it, and like it's the brother calling, and he's like asking or whatever about like where his brother is, and asking if he's okay, and Paul doesn't like know yet. And the brother says that like he's here, like they just have to find, or Paul says like, oh, we just have to find him and stuff. So they're like figuring this out, but like the brother's like, then the brother does like say like, oh, I'm right here, and stuff.
Mhm.
They have to like basically try to get him out because he's like pinned in there pretty good.
Yeah, and the kid was thrown around a lot too in the during.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm surprised, like, having waited this long and with the derailment that he's even alive. And
Yeah.
honestly, same for the engineer.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that both people that were on the derailed train, especially when one was not in any sort of secure like capacity, the fact that
Mhm.
they both made it out of there is honestly, like, we love it. That's great, but it's
Right.
surprising.
Yeah, it was a little bit. Honestly, I don't know why I thought this, but I honestly thought that the kid Damon, I thought he was gonna be ejected. I don't know why my brain went that way, but I was like,
I thought he was going to be ejected too. It
okay.
was because he was in all the open. He was in all the open cars.
Yeah. Yeah, for him
Because
to
so
end
I
up
was like,
in one of the cars was surprising to me as well.
Okay, maybe that's not that
Mhm.
crazy then.
No, well, they
no,
saw
I
the
actually
hat
think
and
it was
everything.
crazier than, yeah.
Luckily, he
So like
was
the fact,
in the car, because at first he was on the top, and I was like, okay, well, we know a train derailment is coming, so like
Mhm.
if he stays there, that is not going to be good for him.
yeah, yeah. He was I know he was in the car because he was cracking open a can of the beer.
Yeah.
Which
I
honestly,
remember
live your best
that.
life.
Honestly.
Live your best life, man. Because he just got in that call that his brother was going to be okay,
YOLO.
and right? But like he was sitting near the opening, so no, I actually think it was far odder that he stayed in the car.
Right? Yeah.
I'm
I'm
guessing
thinking.
I'm guessing that he had to have been pinned really quickly, like as the car was flipping, or else he would have been thrown out. So I don't know. That's just my speculation on that. But I was just glad. I was like, okay, we finally found him. I had started to wonder, like, where the hell is he? Like,
Yeah.
surely we would have found him by now.
I know.
But
Um,
we found him eventually.
and then Paul tells Marjan to like radio Cap and tell them to send everyone because obviously they have to like get him out
With all that
so-
rebar, I was like, someone give him Chim's number.
Yeah, it was like it was crazy because like you just see like you go in the car and it looks like all these like essentially just looks like spikes sticking out everywhere. It looks like a
Yeah.
needle in a haystack essentially.
It reminded me of that game called Pickup Sticks, where you like pick up a bunch of sticks,
Yeah,
drop them, and they all kind of have to they land, and then you have to pull them out without knocking any of them over. I was like,
yeah.
Yeah.
like a human version
Totally
of that.
It really did. Then we go back to school and like everyone is on these buses and then Tommy is like to Captain Andrews, do you have an extra hazmat suit? And he's like, I don't even have a hazmat suit, which I thought was funny. And like so obviously they think that someone is still out there and Captain Andrews is like, well, everyone's accounted for like at the school, like all the kids, all the teachers, all the staff, and she's like, yeah, this person is not school staff. This is like the reporter Trina. She disappeared after the blast, and Captain Andrews is like, if it is her, like with the level of exposure, she's probably beyond saving. And Tommy's like, maybe, but if she's still alive and she's going through unimaginable suffering, so obviously they
Yeah.
want to like at least
Find her.
try to find her. And
I mean, like obviously to some degree you have to call off the search, but if you can, like none of them are gonna leave. And there's always the what if, what if she could be saved? Even though they literally like say at some point in this episode that like the gas liquefies your lungs. And it's like,
Yep.
it's not really something you walk away
Right.
right.
So.
Yeah, and Tommy wants to go alone and like she like says to Captain Andrews, "Oh, can you take them?" And he can answer like, "Absolutely not." Like no way.
Absolutely
We're going to
not.
look for her like with you.
Mhm.
Like absolutely not. Like we're doing this. And it's just like TNT.
D&D. Yeah,
Dynamite.
I love him. I forgot about that nickname. I love it though. TNT. Right.
And then back to saving Damon in this training card that they have now marked with an orange letter X and like Wyatt dispatches saying that they have a critical patient and rail car marked with an orange X and they need all available units to respond. And Arif asks Wyatt if he's like hanging in there and he's like, yeah, no. And he's like trying to get an ambulance back to the derailment, but they're all like either like everyone has like patience or they're just like too far away. And then Sarah's like, well, maybe there's like somebody like low priority we can pull off an evacuation. And so then she's like, well, this tablet must be glitching because the 126 ambulance is still at the school. And then even Wyatt's like radio and asking why they're still there. And Tommy says that they're looking for the missing victim. And Wyatt's like, all due respect, you have to go. The cloud's like 100 yards from you. And Tommy's like, yeah, it's a lot closer than that. It's like basically like right there.
Right.
Like it's feet
Yeah.
away from them. Like it's crazy. And very quickly they do find Trina. It is not good, obviously, and we kind of all knew that just based on like how we saw in like the premiere episode and stuff. And they like the cloud's too close. They can't even get to the ambulance. And even if they did, it probably wouldn't have been very wise. It was just not. And so they go inside the school because like that's really the only option they have. And then we go to Carlos at Trevor's or at Tommy's with Trevor, and Trevor's like watching the news and it's like, yeah, that's never good. And Carlos like turns it off and it's like, maybe we should put on some music instead.
Right.
It's like very
Yeah.
wise, Carlos.
Yeah.
And then and Trevor's like, oh, my ex-wife works for IRS. That was a lot easier on my blood pressure. And Carlos's line, I love this. Carlos is just like, yeah, like hypertension. One of the joys of dating your first responder. And it's like, yeah, that's relatable. And
Uh-huh.
um. And then Trevor says that's the thing. I'm not sure Tommy and I are dating anymore. And Carlos is like, oh, like, won't want to tell me what happened. And Trevor says, oh, she proposed, and like I obviously accepted, but there is one little caveat. It's that her and the kids need to meet my ex-wife. And Carlos is like, so you gave her an ultimatum? And Trevor's like, well, not really, but like more like a
Yes.
stipulation, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Carlos looks at him and Trevor's like, fine, it was an ultimatum. And I cringed. He was like, my ex-wife was a wonderful mother, and she like let me move here with her only child, and it's only reasonable she have some say.
Your
don't-
ex-wife was such a wonderful mother that she tore your family apart by fucking a guy in the choir.
Yep.
Yep, that tracks.
Thank you. I was like, she doesn't get a say. She cheated. She's the one that blew
Listen,
up the
like,
marriage.
yes, to some degree, I still am like, okay, there's still like, yes, there is a say in who, like, in making sure that your child is safe, but also she doesn't get a say. Like, it's the two, it's
Yeah.
the reasonable wolf and the fuck all cheaters wolf.
I know.
That are
It's
fighting inside the fence.
right. I know.
Yeah.
I'm like, Trevor, you're being way too nice.
He is being
Drop
way
the
too nice
collar
'cause
for a
it's
second
like-
here.
Right.
You can cuss out your ex-wife.
Literally, because like it's like she cheated. She's the reason why your marriage fell apart. Like, yeah, you met somebody way better, obviously now, but like, it's just it really drives me nuts because I swear to God, like if this supposed ex-wife were to like meet somebody that has kids, and like would she subject?
Also, like, is she still with that choir member? Like, is she
Probably
still with the
not.
guys she cheated with? Because then
Suppose-
there's also that. Is she bringing a man like that into their house, or into their child's life? See, here's the thing. This scene confused me because last episode I got the impression that it was her stipulation, but in this episode it sounded like Charles was the one pushing for it.
Trevor.
And now I'm confused. Or sorry, Charles. Charles.
I heard you say
Trevor.
Charles, and I'm like, he dead.
I didn't even he did. I didn't even
I knew
register.
what
I
you
said
meant,
Charles.
but I was like, wrong dude.
Wrong, dude. Like, and now it sounds like Trevor made. And now I'm confused on which one was ultimately the person to insist on it. Like, was it a part of their divorce agreement? Because that's what it sounded like last time.
That's what I got from it.
Yeah,
But
that's
they
what
never
they made it sound like.
they
last
never
week.
flashed back to him actually explaining it to Tommy.
Yeah, it was just Tommy's explanation. So yeah, I don't know.
It's very tricky. So it's like I don't agree with it, and I don't really. I think I don't know. Like if you're looking at actually like physically looking out for your child, like I could understand it.
Yes.
But like I don't know, just the fact that like she cheated has like just taints that whole agreement.
Yeah, that's
It's
what
not like they had issues, they couldn't work them out, they got a divorce or whatever. Like it's totally tainted by the fact that she cheated on him with somebody from their church, and that's why that all happened. So I don't know, and I know in the next episode we're gonna meet her, so we'll kind of see how that goes.
Yeah. I am very interested to see how this is gonna go.
Yeah.
Because I'm also dying. Like, I didn't want to meet her, but I'm also dying to meet her. I'm like, I'm gonna pass so much judgment on you. I already have. Now let me see now let me see your face. I want to see if you act like a bitch or if they're gonna try to make you a nice person. I'm really curious on how
I
that's
am
gonna go.
very.
Anyhow, yeah.
I'm very. I am. and stuff. And he's like, oh, it's only reasonable. Like, she has some say. And I'm like, yeah, I still don't agree with you, but okay.
Say I can agree with, and I get the
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, I like Tommy, but just having to meet the girls, putting the girls through all that's
Mhm.
unnecessary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's like the girls get
Again, like,
along. Both,
is
all
this a
children get along.
is this a mutual thing? Like, does
I
he
hope
vet
so.
her? Because presumably Melody does in fact see her mom at some point, like go to visit her mom at some point. So does he also get a say?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
would assume they had like some custody agreement where like she lives with him, like she lives with him most like full time, but like maybe in the summer she for a few weeks she goes visit her mom or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of guessing. That's where a lot of these go.
Right, exactly. And so Carlos basically says like, "Oh, you sprung it on her," no, which is so true. And
True.
he knew about this, like he knew this was an agreement that they had in their divorce. And like it might have been like a good thing to tell Tommy this like a while ago. I'm not
Right.
saying like when you went on your first date or when you first started dating, but like when you realized like, oh, this might be serious, that might have been like a good thing to tell somebody and not tell them when they like propose to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause
Yeah, that he dropped the ball on that one. That's fully on him. He needed to tell her.
Because, like, that's something that, like, she should have known. Because,
Yeah.
like, that's like being blindsided completely.
Yeah. So my new roommate has never seen Lone Star, so I've been having to pause and explain things. And I started laughing during the scene, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Pause it." I was like, "You don't understand." I was like, "Last season, TK and Carlos were engaged, and Carlos had to drop this crazy bomb on TK."
Oh my
And
God.
I was
Why
like,
do people never talk?
I was like,
I forgot about
I
that.
was
There were
like,
two bombs.
of
I'm so sorry. I forgot about Iris. Not I love Iris, but I forgot about her.
and I was like, it's so funny that Carlos is the one having the conversation with Tommy, with Trevor about this.
Not gonna lie, when I
He
was watching these scenes, did not occur to my brain. That did not
I completely
circulate.
forgot about. I'll be real, I forgot Iris existed.
I,
Like not maliciously, I just forgot about her.
Yeah.
same.
Because
Like,
I did
I know she
not love
exists, but
that
I forgot.
storyline. At
Yeah.
least at first, I
Yeah.
really did not love the storyline, and now I'm still a little iffy on it. It
Yeah.
turned out, but I'm still a little iffy on it. And it's like, mm, why do people never talk?
I know.
Yeah.
Communication's terrible with these characters.
Like,
I feel
listen,
like a little different on it because
Yeah.
like Iris obviously like she had like her struggles and also she was presumably dead for quite
Right.
an amount for a while,
Yeah.
for like
yeah,
years.
that's true.
So like I feel like that's sort of different and also I'm just like I don't that storyline still confuses me to the fact that they were like,
Yeah, I'm
we
still.
planned this. How did you plan this? Like I literally
Right.
think about this to this day. I was literally thinking about this randomly one day. I'm like, so basically in the pilot, when Carlos essentially arrests Michelle and they're talking about her sister, it is so normal. It's not like, oh wait, that's my wife that I married because
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And
that's
uh, and there's no sign that he was closer to Iris than he was to her. It's like
Right.
he's helping Michelle
yeah.
find her
Yeah.
sister, not finding his best friend slash legal wife. I'm clarifying
Yeah.
legal wife because they're literally only married for legal reasons.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
confuses
So
me.
it was
Just,
interesting to
huh?
have to explain season 4 to her, and then like all the whole Iris situation. I was like, of all people, I was like, I know the situations are different, but Trevor had
Yeah.
a big thing he probably should have shared sooner, and like Carlos definitely had something big he had to share. He should have shared sooner.
Listen, I know I have like bad sense of timing slash like like putting things off. I don't like hard conversations, but god damn.
I think we all have those moments.
Right.
Like yeah, like even me saying this is going the fuck the fuck
Yep.
yeah.
Yep, pretty much. And yeah, I just love this like whole conversation between them and like sort of the banter. It's funny. I live for
Mhm.
it. And Carlos is like saying like how like they fight the good fight, and I love that. Like I love that he brought that up. And then we go
Yeah.
back to the school, and obviously like the cloud's bad, so they have to go in the school, and they get Trina in the school, and Tommy tells Nancy to basically wet paper towels and put them down on the windowsills, and Trina is not doing good. We all knew this, and she's like trying to talk, and this honestly made me sad. And she's like trying to say boy, and they're like, wait, is she trying to say boy? And so they figure out that she's like asking about the boy, and they tell her that like, oh, he's okay, like you like grabbing him, like that saved him. And
Yeah.
then she like flatlines, and she had like started like foaming basically out of her mouth, so obviously we knew this is like bad. And
Right.
like she was gone fast, like it was quick once they got inside the building. And
From the
Well,
moment we found her, like it was like,
yeah.
oh, she's
yeah,
not walking
because
away
she
from
had to
this.
been out there like a long time,
Right.
like
And she had a
hours.
full body
I
exposure too.
I'm shocked she wasn't even like I'm surprised she didn't die faster.
Yeah.
Even though like the explosion did happen like partway through the rescue, so like I don't know, like I did have to like check myself a little bit because I was going, girl, what the fuck were you thinking? And I'm like,
Yeah.
She was,
still,
yeah,
that's not like she made a kind of stupid decision, but she never deserved this. Like that's so fucked up. Yeah, that's just so fucked up.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And
I am really sad she died. But also
yeah,
I
me
was like
too.
I had been kind of like side-eyeing the entire episode going, it's a big emergency and no one's died yet. What do
Yeah,
you
that's true.
mean?
I didn't really think
So
about that, but yeah, we knew somebody would have to die, and I was like, yeah. And
it's a big one. Everyone always dies in
Yeah.
a big thing. Even I think this might be the like least casualties we've had for a big emergency,
Yeah.
which is,
true.
that's good, but it's also a little bit jarring because like you're used to it being a little bit, tougher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and weren't they able to give her a little bit of morphine?
Oh yeah,
So she
TK
passed easier.
because like
right.
normally you give like 5, and then like Tommy's like, no, give her 15, and TK's like, are you sure? And she's like, no, give her 15. Yeah, so
Right. Yeah.
at least they were able to give her some sort of peace, and even TK says that in the scene,
Right. And obviously like the cloud is coming even closer, and they have to like get to the back of the classroom, and they don't have any more paper towels because it was all used for the windows, so they take off their jackets and put it under the door, and they go as far back, and TK finds a fan. He's like, hey, you never know.
TK and
Which
his
I
fan.
love his
So
I
TK.
love it. And Tommy dispatches Wyatt, and she's like saying how they're in the science room, and they're saying like he asked about their patient. She says, "Oh, she didn't make it." And Tommy says while they're talking, she's like, "I need you to write some things down." And she gives him like this number combination, and Wyatt's like asking, "Oh, what is that?" And Tommy says how it's a combination to her safe. It holds like all these important documents, birth certificates, passports, stuff like that. And Wyatt wonders why she is telling him this, and she's like, "I'm telling you because that is gonna be like something that your dad and Gracie are going to need. They're gonna need stuff like that to take good care of my girls." And why it's like, don't say that. We're going to get somebody out to you. And Tommy's like, yeah, nobody's coming. And they knew
Yeah.
that when they decided to stay behind, they knew like this could happen. And like Tommy tells Wyatt to tell his dad to give her girls all the love, and Wyatt's like, I promise. And this is like so sad. Like obviously we know that nothing like
I
is
started crying.
yeah.
I was
I
like,
did a
what
little bit,
the?
yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Like it was just like, and like this is
Like,
honestly probably the first time that we've seen Wyatt have to like take this sort of fall. So it was honestly sad seeing that and
yeah.
seeing him handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the gas starts coming in the room, and TK turns on the fan, and they kind of just sit there, and they notice that it's like blowing away, and Tiki's like, I told you. And Tommy's like, I don't think it's a fan, but like, good job, sweetie. You're doing great, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
basically, the wind had like changed directions, and like, this is great. And Tommy's like, well, now I need to change my combination. And Wyatt's like, yeah, that'd probably be a wise decision because this is all recorded, which I thought was
Right.
a little funny. A little like
Yeah.
mood. But back to the derailment. They're working on like getting Damon out, but like obviously the wind had shifted and they were made aware of that. So the gas is coming towards them, and Owen orders them all to like go. And they're like, but we can help you. And Owen's like, no, you need to like get out of here. And so now Owen's like trying to like get this guy free, like all on his own, and all of a sudden you hear this loud crash, and I'm like, "Yep, I I
I
think I
knew
might know."
immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
I like
too.
I'd been waiting for it.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting the crash, but I knew this was what was going to happen.
I knew this is where
And
he
I
was
was
gonna be.
Well, yeah,
yeah.
because
I
Owen
was like,
sent.
well, he hasn't showed up yet.
Yeah.
So he's coming in this scene.
I knew it
Yeah,
was
because we
coming.
know that Owen had sent Mateo, Marjan, and Paul in the 126 truck. And I was like, Jed's totally showing up. Like, he's not going to leave him
Mhm.
hanging.
And it's funny because then Owen sees Judd, because they're like, Damon and Owen are like, wait, what was that? And Owen's just like, oh, I don't know. And then like T sees Judd, and like, because like obviously like Judd crashed into it, and Owen's like, how did you know to be here? And Judd's like, I heard it on the radio. X marks the spot. And Judd figured he just needed to push it up. Like, typical Judd, typical Judd.
Right?
And then
I
obviously
loved it. Loved it.
yeah, for sure. And then obviously Mr. Bradford is like, we can try, but you're gonna need some damn good insurance, son. And Owen's like, don't worry about it, we'll take care of you. And I'm just like, this dude.
Yeah.
And then they're watching the news of Tommy's, and it's like the last of the chlorine gas was washed away with a thunderstorm. Tommy comes home, as does TK to Carlos, which I'm like, Carlos reunion.
I was like, oh my
Yeah. Oh.
And Tommy sees Trevor after she's like done hugging her girls, and Trevor tells Melody to go get her backpack, and Tommy tells her girls to like go help her, and she's like, can close the door. And then TK and Carlos leave, and before that, Carlos is just like, good luck. And then Trevor basically apologizes for springing this on Tommy, and he gets, if she doesn't want to like subject her daughters to that, or even herself, he tells Tommy that she's the love of his life and he'll do anything for her. And Tommy tells him to call his ex-wife, and Trevor asks if she's sure, and Tommy says if today taught her anything, it's that she would want to know the person who's gonna help raise my girls too. Which I'm like, that's very like, I don't know the right words, but like that's
I
very
think
nice of Tommy. It's
I
very
think
big of
it's
Tommy.
I think it's generous. I don't
Yeah,
think she's
that's a better word.
wrong. I think she's being generous, which
For
kind of
sure.
fits, honestly. Yeah, that is ultimately exactly what I expect of her to say, even if I don't think that the other woman necessarily deserves that right. But I'm like, okay, you know what? Don't always have to be the bigger person, but she is being the bigger person. I respect that so much in this.
Yeah.
So, love Tommy. She's a goddamn legend.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so like Trevor's like saying how amazing she is, which she is. And then Tommy sees his nails, and she's like, are your nails painted pink? And he's like, yeah, Toes too. And I thought that was so funny. She's like, yeah,
That was so cute.
you messed up good. And I'm like, oh, we love that. And that was a good way to like,
A little
that
bit
was,
levity to leave on.
Mhm.
oh yeah, for sure, well said. And then have like our final scene. We see Owen and Judd in Owen's office, and everyone is seeing it, which reminds me of like season 1, I think it was, when like they saw, I think it was like when Owen had to like retake the the
Yes,
test.
the physical test.
Yeah, the physical
Yeah.
test and stuff because of like his cancer getting outed.
Yeah.
That reminded me, and they were all looking up to see, wait, what do their faces say? It's very impressive how like I haven't watched season 1 in like a few years, and I've and I could literally recall these things at the most randomest time. Granted, I've seen
Yeah.
it so many times.
Back with Judd's like, I know that they're talking. What are they talking about?
Yeah. Yep.
I just love them all being nosy as hell and not being ashamed of it. I'm like, honestly, live.
Honestly, same. Relatable. So yeah, they're talking
Me
in
too.
Owen's office, and Marjan is like, oh, well, they seem to be enjoying each other's company. And Paula's like, gee, I wonder what they could be talking about up there. And I love Marjan being like, I knew I should have came in early this morning. And I love Paul being like, why? So you could butter him up? Because Paul made some comment about Judd buttering Owen up like he was garlic toast. Oh,
And
that
now
was
I suddenly
funny.
really want garlic toast. But like that's not a bad analogy. I'm just hungry.
Yeah. And they're like talking about it. They're like, after all this work, then Owen and Judd do come out of his office. And Owen's like, I'm so excited to announce the 126 is reunited. After a year's sabbatical, Judd is returning to be that's 126 new, and Paul and Marjan just at the same time are like Lieutenant, and Owen's like, no, Proby. And Marjan is so surprised. She's like, Proby, Judd's our new Proby? And like I okay, part of me like was like I
I
kind
saw
of
it
see
coming.
this coming. And then another part
Yeah.
of me was kind of like in the moment when I was watching it the first time was like not shocked, but like slightly surprised, but I also knew they were gonna do this. I feel like this
I
happened
was
on
mostly
another
surprised that
show.
they actually did it.
I think that's what it was.
Instead of like, having some like miraculous revelation that he still needs to be lieutenant or something like that. I feel like they actually did it right. And I was like, that's what surprised me, and I don't know if it should have. Like Lone Star doesn't necessarily like, shink its people a lot or whatever, but like I was like, oh, you're actually doing this pretty okay. Like that's fair.
I
Yeah.
like, yeah, because okay, if it would have been different if he was out for a year for like a different reason, but he was out for a year and he basically retired. So now he's coming back, and like obviously like there there's a lot to be done. Also, I forget what show it was. I've seen it as another show, but it was for like a totally different reason and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it was like something bad happened like on the job to the point like disciplinary actions had to take place. So then somebody got demoted all the way down to a probie.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I think I kind of saw it coming. I kind of figured I'm like, there's a good chance that if Judd's, I mean, I knew Judd was coming back, and I was like,
Oh,
I
for
don't
sure.
think they're gonna go through all this with Marjan and Paul to just say, nope, sorry, Judd's back. So
Yeah.
I'm actually glad they did this, and I'm glad Owen explained it to him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it's and Owen's like, yeah, it's only fair. The rules are the rules. Like he has to start at the bottom. And
Yeah.
Trent's like,
Yeah.
look, y'all don't have to take it easy on me because I'm a 40-year-old probie. That's got 10 years more experience than anyone in this room. Minus maybe like Owen.
Right?
That's what I was saying. I was like,
I think he was
I
mostly
think,
talking to them and not Owen because
yeah.
obviously he had already talked to Owen. I think he was mostly talking to
The team.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
as like his
I think it was
peers.
good that he was making his position known on that. Be like, he's not expecting to like come in and get the same like,
Right.
not because obviously they love and respect him. That's not going to change. But I think he wanted to let them know he's not coming in expecting to have the same like
Yeah.
authority, and that's good.
He's
Like,
been through it
good move.
before. He's been a probie before. He knows what he's treated probies before, like different things. So he knows what's coming, and he doesn't want people to treat him any differently, which I like because that's gonna happen. People are gonna freak out, like, oh, should we do this? Like,
Like, but it's Judd.
like probie Judd.
Yeah.
Yep. And Mateo's like, wait, so who's gonna be our next lieutenant? And Owen's like, yeah, that was my other thing. So Owen could not make a decision for his life. So Owen wrote it down on a piece of paper because he didn't want to change his mind. But of course Marjan has to give this speech, and she's like, "This may change your mind," but she basically said like, um she would do anything for anybody in this house, and when it comes to danger, her hand is the first to go up in the air. Of course, girl, even if it
Yeah.
means melting the skin off her hands, she goes on, on to say, but Paul pays attention to details. Like, if anybody should be the next lieutenant, it should be Paul. And Owen's like, oh, I couldn't say it better. Um, and so he's like, okay, Paul's the next lieutenant. And I'm just like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I low-key want to know. And I'm like, please, somebody that can lip read, tell me what Owen said. It's killing me.
Oh, I
And
know.
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh my god, like we don't know what Owen said, like, and people are like, yeah, that's the point. And I'm
Well,
like, I don't
we're not
care.
supposed to know.
Right.
But like, I also like that's not saying I don't want to know.
That's how I
I'm wondering if it's
feel.
gonna come out later.
I'm like wondering.
I wonder
Well,
if it's gonna come out later what he said and what like was that his original decision.
I'm confident that it was about either what she said or the actually who it was going to be.
Yeah. Because she looked like odd. She looked a little pleased in a way, but like not in a way that was like, oh yeah, it was definitely going to be her, and that like how she's taking pride in that. I think she was pleased because she felt right about it, whatever it was. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually really like this because my feelings on this. I stated last week that because of like the action that Marjan took, like the way she stepped up to the plate, I was like, okay, I'm kinda like seeing her more as the lieutenant, but I'm happy if anybody gets it. And like obviously, like I was always good if Paul got it, but I really liked how she said it because she was like, I was so eager to like get to the objective and complete the objective and like do it first and be the front on the lines that I overlooked the signs that someone else was trapped.
Right.
And Paul got, I was like, that's exactly it. Like
Mhm.
either of
Right.
them would have been a great lieutenant, but I'm in the end, I'm like, actually, I'm happy it's Paul.
Yeah. And it's great leadership that like she's able to say that
Yeah.
Mhm.
and be like, well, maybe it should be Paul.
And also, like, we know how competitive she is. So, like,
Yeah.
that took a little oomph for her to do. Just like
Yeah.
giving it up like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
Well,
sure.
and I think she also recognizes that sometimes her recklessness can lead to other dangers that aren't really like lieutenant material, and would hate to put Owen in the firehouse in the line of any kind of lawsuits because she made a stupid decision or a bad call on this job site or something. And
Which I think shows great growth.
Yeah.
Really.
For sure.
Like, is she ever going to stop doing reckless stuff? No, but she has only ever really endangered herself. Like, I think, to my recollection, that's been the thing since day one. But I think she's really maturing.
Yeah.
She's maturing into being and I think it definitely helps that they're not in one of those old boy club like fire stations anymore where neither of them have to ride out shine. I feel like maybe that was when they were starting, like they were worried that it was slipping into that when they saw Judd getting his job back because they were like, oh, you know, he's the boy, he's gonna get his job back. And I think that's another reason why it was actually really great that Owen did as he should and have him start back at the bottom because, you know,
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree with
privilege.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and since the beginning, when Owen put the firehouse together, he's brought in
Mhm.
people that had questionable, histories. And so following the rules like this even shows growth on Owen's part, because when
Oh, yeah.
Wyatt came in there, he was determined. He's like, he's not coming back to be my lieutenant. Never clarified that he could come back as a probie. But Owen knew in the back of his mind that's probably what was going to happen. He just needed Judd to come to him and say, I want my job back.
Yep. And I'm glad Judd came through and did the right thing, as we all knew he was going to. We
Mhm.
all knew this was how it was going to happen. We may not have been particularly certain on the details, but
I didn't know
we
when, but
knew
I knew
he
it was
was.
happening. Just behind the scenes stuff.
I
We saw
was
them in like their uniforms, so I knew that Judd would be back just based
Yeah.
on that.
I was decently sure it was going to be at the end of this premiere, mainly because he just seemed so restless already. Like it didn't like he was really trying to give it his best shot, but he was like there wasn't really the substance there to continue on this storyline for a few more episodes.
Right.
Oh, I would have
Um,
hated it, especially if they were gonna go
oh my god.
forward with the trucking stuff. I was like, that is so stupid. Like, I understand like that, like that would have been like a good segue, but I'm also like, I don't like this.
For sure.
Like,
Yeah.
that's just not gonna work. But then Mateo's like saying congrats to like Paul, and then he's like saying to like Judd, "Oh, it's good to have you back." And Judd's like, "Yeah, you too, brother." And then Mateo goes, "Oh, now can you go make me a PB&J?" So this is already starting, which I love.
Love
It's
it.
so funny, and
Naturally.
it's like ooh, and Mateo's like, "Unless you have got a problem with that," and Mateo's like, "Do you have a problem with that?" And it's like he's looking at Judd like he's afraid of him because he's this big scary man, but honestly he's not. But it's just funny because
Yeah.
he's like, wait, because like Mateo gets intimidated very easily, so it's
He
just funny
does.
in that sense.
Also,
And
he was the last probie. He was the
Right.
baby. He
I
like,
know,
and he still is the baby technically, but he was the last probie they had, the first and only probie that new 126 had. So, it's definitely funny to watch him like try out it and then be like, oh wait, am I allowed to do that? Wait, did I do something
yeah.
wrong?
And
Someone
Owen
tell
did
me if
try
I
to
fucked
make
up,
a
please.
comment about how like because Mateo's like, yeah, you did take a really long time to figure it out, and Owen's like, hey, we still have room for another probie, so I would watch what you're saying, which I think is hilarious. And Judd's
Listen,
like,
I don't know why, but I suddenly in that scene got an irrational fear that he was gonna somehow like decide to make Mateo the lieutenant for whatever reason. I was like, that
I
wouldn't have
never
made
thought that would
sense
happen.
whatsoever. But I just suddenly had this irrational fear. I'm like, oh no, 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 please do not pull a trick like that. Oh my god. And then he made that joke, and I was like, oh no, we're fine. Okay.
Right.
Because Mateo did
They've
really
already
well
done
over
that
the emergency.
episode. That
I
was
was
my
like,
thought.
yeah, I was just
I hope
like,
we've seen it.
please don't let them take. And then it made that. I
Right.
was like, okay, no, we're fine. Never mind. Ah.
Yeah, and then Mateo and like, oh wait, like, do you have a problem with that? And Jed's like, yeah, hell yeah, I do. But he's like, okay, so he is gonna have a problem with this. And he's like, do you want crunchy or smooth? I was like,
That was
like,
funny. That
that's
was
good.
funny.
Yeah.
He was a
Amen.
probie once. He has
Yeah.
treated the probies like probies before. He knows how to roll with the
Yep,
punches.
he does. Let's
gonna
go.
be good.
Yes. Him being like smooth, obviously. And then Paul asks for one too. And then Marjan's like, when you're done with
Another
that
china.
spice chai, um and he's like, y'all are gonna you're like Judd's gonna get used to being the probie because they're all just gonna be barking out random ass orders at him.
Yeah.
And
They'll
like
probably get bored of it eventually, but like for now,
I
roll with the punches.
I love Judd being like, man, y'all gotta do me like that, this only lasts for 12 months. Oh, he's counting down the days from when it
Oh, I'm sure he is.
starts. I would
Oh
be
yeah,
too.
he's got a stopwatch going now.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
only 258 more days.
Yeah,
Like
literally. Uh, yeah, it's so chaotic. I just love it. And then Owen gets a text from Remy, which is Demon's brother, or whatever, and they're like together in the hospital. And so obviously it makes Owen think of his own brother, which I'm like, oh, and that's how we end it. And it was all nice. It was a good way to like wrap this whole emergency,
yeah.
this whole thing up.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it was I am actually really happy with this. Overall, just the all three episodes, this last episode. This was the only one that I felt like started slow for me.
Yeah.
I actually felt like it started slow this one. Which also that may have been because I was in a rush this morning and was trying to cram in watching the video.
Mm.
So that might have impacted it, but honestly, just stellar. I'm happy that the season's off to a good start now.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
felt like this one, like the other ones, like I felt like so much was happening, and then it was like, oh shit, this is how much we have left. Where this one, like a lot was happening, but I also felt like there was time to breathe and be like, okay, we're here. But now this
It
is
was paced well.
happening. It was, yeah, the pacing was like not like, oh damn, the episode's over. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I can just like enjoy watching this the first time.
All right.
Yeah.
So I love.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. There were a couple of times in there and I was like, I know we'd had the hijab storyline in season one, so I know that they weren't going to bring it back, but I was really struggling after she, like the whole gas incident and her, like when
Mhm.
Paul's trying to help her clean her wounds. Um,
Mhm.
because I know they take multiple scenes, like shots of these scenes, so they have to do them over and over again. But like there were a part where you could see her hair in
Mm,
clips of it. I was kind of struggling, like, okay, you guys gonna work, like do something with this? Are you gonna make that a part of the storyline too? They
yeah.
didn't, but I was just like, okay, we're not going back there. But it just, that was something that popped into my head, and I don't know. I'm glad Jed's back. I'm curious what it's going to look like though, because with Grace being gone for, well, we know the whole season, um, how's that going to look for like childcare and stuff?
Mm,
Because before, I'm not really sure who was watching Charlie, but I'm assuming it was family, friends type of thing. So
Yeah, they kind of mentioned like before that like, oh, like Grace's parents could watch her, or Judd's dad could watch her, or like I'm sure
or
she's in
Wyatt
the
and Leanne.
age. Yeah, I mean Judd was like pretty adamant that he didn't want them watching her because he just didn't want to put that responsibility on them since they have their family now.
uh,
Yeah.
But I'm sure she's at the age where like she's in like some form of daycare. I'm not really sure how old they're saying she is.
uh,
I thought it was 4, but I could be
They
wrong.
never really explain, but like if she was 4, she would be in preschool.
Yeah, that
So
would
like
account for some of it at least.
so you
Like
wouldn't
it,
have to worry. Like obviously like they would need some other form of childcare, but like
uh,
at least somewhat you're covered.
yeah,
I mean, if it's the same general deal that they would have had to have looked at, like that Joe would have had looked at as a trucker, even if it was for slightly less hours.
yeah. Yeah.
So it's not really a very changed scenario, but yeah, I'm sure they'll figure it out.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a good wrap up for those kind of the 3-part season opener. This one, I don't know. You said that it's was kind of slow for you, and I think this one actually started more intense than any of the other two did. So I don't know. Maybe it was just
Like
a little odd.
again, I think it was just the fact that I was trying to rush out this morning.
Mm,
I really think that probably was it. But yeah.
yeah. Like I said earlier, I love that we had some Carlos, content outside of work, getting to know Trevor. Because we know kind of like behind the scenes, Carlos was getting to know Charles through their interest in cooking. So, like, it's nice to see that he's still kind of still trying to connect with Tommy's significant other. Yeah, it's like wow, it's been a few years since the end of season 2. It's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been like 2 years ish ago. So but yeah, no, it was a good episode. Um, I mean, I don't think there's any Lone Star episodes that are terrible. So, and yeah, great start. So, looking forward to next week. Looking forward to continuing the season. But I feel like we're ticking down like our last new episodes, and it's like
I don't like that feeling.
no,
Yeah.
Like
Oh
I
gosh.
try not to think about it, but it's also like sort of in my brain. And I like don't like to think about it. I'm just like, I wish we had more than 12 because 12 is just not enough.
right? I
Yeah.
agree.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's like it sucks because literally, it's the most performing series on Fox right now. So it is
Yeah.
so stupid. Like every show that they've come out with this year has literally been the views, the ratings are taking, but then Lone Star's up here, like the highest rated show on Fox. It's like it's doing so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just like,
Yeah.
oh,
And the episode and the show right after Lone Stars airs, I turn off the TV right as it airs because I'm like, I'm not giving you ratings.
I know I turned it off so fast.
Me too.
People, it's
It's
so
like,
annoying because
nope.
people online are talking about it, and I'm like, they're like, you should watch this, and I'm like, I'm not watching that.
No. Yeah. Again, I don't watch them live, so that's not been an issue for me. Um, but I can't believe that we're so close to it being done. Also, I was just thinking, I I have exactly one complaint so far, and it's that we have a criminal lack of Owen and TK content. I don't even know that they've spoken to each other in the premiere, and this feels so wrong. They might have been passing, but I don't know that they've actually had an actual. They've definitely not had a full-on conversation. I don't know if they've like exchanged more than two sentences. Like, and I'm like, I don't like this. Like, one of the things I've always loved about Lone Star was TK and Owen's bond, and they have neglected that in past seasons. But I'm really feeling it in this one. I'm like, no. We're
Yeah.
not doing this again.
I will say that there's just been a lot happening in these episodes that like
Absolutely.
it's maybe unintentionally sidelined, but like I'm sure we'll get like it and stuff. So I don't know.
See, I think what made me think of it was in the last scene of this episode, um right before we pan to Owen getting the text from Remy and then looking at the photo of him and his brother, you see Owen walk away and Tiki is looking after him, and I was like, oh my gosh, are we gonna get them? Like, that would have been the perfect
Yeah.
moment for them to have had like an interaction, a conversation of some kind, and they didn't, and still be able to keep all of that they kept in that like
Right.
scene in, and they didn't, and I was like, so yes, a lot happened, but there was also a lot of opportunities, a
Yeah.
lot of small opportunities for them to have very small interactions, and they weren't taken. So I think that's just like that's what I'm noticing right now, and I'm really hoping we get some good content with them before the season closes out. Because again, I've always loved their bond as father and son, and I'm like,
Yeah.
we aren't often treated to good parental relationships, and yes, Owen's not always been the best, and he's definitely made his mistakes. We all know this. TK knows this, but they really had a bond,
Yeah.
have a bond, and so I need them to have some scenes this season.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's building up to maybe TK's been keeping an eye on his dad from a distance to see how his dad's reacting to this, because maybe he realizes the trauma of losing his brother, his new brother that he just found, maybe he's realizing maybe the same thing, and so that might be an episode coming up.
Yeah. I also think it shows like their dynamic and how it shifted where like in the beginning of the series, TK relied a lot on Owen, especially like
Yeah.
after like the whole like relapse thing and all that stuff, and when they first came to Texas, like he relied on him a lot. And like now obviously he's a married man, so like
Yeah.
he doesn't really rely on his father much, but I'm sure we'll see like stuff from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I would have just preferred to have seen a slight like dynamic shift in the way just that they interact with each other rather than how much they interact with each other. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
So that again, that's just my little gripe, and it's not really spoiling my enjoyment of the season so far. I just hope we get more. Um, and obvious, just the rest of it though, really no notes. I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm really excited for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I am excited because I know like we're getting like TK's 30th birthday, so like I'm sure there will be something
Yes.
then.
All right.
Yeah.
I believe that's like episode 6 or 7. I can't remember, but I'm excited. They've like shaped the season really good so far, so I'm happy.
All right.
Yeah.
I think it was a light week for fan thoughts, but wish we had a Tarlos goodbye call, but There's always fix. I think that's interesting because there's always that comment like, "Oh, I wish we got this. I wish we got that." But like, it was very much like I don't think it. I feel like I feel like when you think about these things, you have to think, would it add value to the story they were trying to tell? And really, it wouldn't have done really anything. And I can't really think of much that could have been taken out to give that. So, like,
Yeah.
as much as I would have wanted it, yeah, there is still fan fiction, and there's also like I think about things. So, like, I'm
Yeah, I mean, uh, you're right because I feel like this was more focused on Tommy's perspective with the whole Trevor storyline and Tommy and the girls and what that could mean if she passes away from this and things like that. So I would have loved to have something too, but I'm okay with not getting it because we got a
yeah.
hug at the end. Like, they
That was actually something else I was gonna add that we got like their reunion at Tommy's house and like them holding each other. So like honestly, that was enough for me. I think a call really wouldn't have added much to the episode. It wouldn't have really done much for me, so I'm okay with us not
I mean,
getting anything like that. I would have loved it if they had the time, but like it
yeah.
wouldn't have really added value to what we've already
Right.
got.
I mean, I think I do a bit agree with the comment, but I don't disagree with you guys either. It's it kind of would have been thing where if they had made it a call, I would have liked to have TK and Carlos calling while she was on the phone with Wyatt. Well, Tommy was on the phone with Wyatt. And also, even as much as I am not personally all that much of a fan of this relationship, I would have loved to have seen Nancy calling Mateo as well. Like just them all because they all thought they were gonna die just
Yeah.
then. And so I would like to have seen all of them even do like a call, a text, even though how do you do that in a text? I mean
Yeah,
I say that I've had an instance where I thought I was in danger and I sent a text to everyone because I did not, I didn't have the time to call everybody or whatever.
Right.
But it's still hard to say that kind of thing in a text.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know, I would have liked to have seen something for maybe all of them. Even if not necessarily to Trevor, maybe just her like texting to take good care of her girls or something. I don't know. But again, it would have been great if it had happened. It doesn't necessarily detract anything from the scene that it didn't happen, so it's fine.
right.
So yeah. Like I was thinking about it. I almost mentioned it in like my thoughts about the episode in general, and I was like, oh, honestly, it's not that big of a deal. It's just something I would have liked to have seen.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a thought that just came to mind too. I was thinking maybe they didn't do it because they were worried that it would cause Carlos to be a little more distraught, and he was trying to be there for Trevor in a way. So that might have impacted, or maybe TK were like, "Well, don't tell Trevor," and then that would be like, I don't know. It would have been tough for Carlos to keep something like that from him. I don't know. Just the thought that had popped in.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know in another show, like everyone or whatever, they had written letters and they were like, okay, so you're gonna write this letter to whoever you would want, like if you had passed away, you'd want them to have this letter. And it would be like whatever you wanted to say to them, like if you had died on a call. And I'm like, I would love to see something like that incorporated in a similar way,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
and stuff. So that kind of made me think of that
Yeah.
too.
A lot of soldiers keep a note in their locker,
Yeah.
when they go out on a call or out on I believe cops and firefighters do it too. And yeah, whenever they go out of town, and I've had friends that have left notes to make sure my spouse gets this when, if something ever happened to me.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, and then next week's episode seems interesting. So in the promo we see Owen's like to Paul, first call Lieutenant, time to cowboy up. And then EMS is trapped in an elevator on the 17th floor. And Tommy says they have a woman in labor who needs a blood transfusion. I'm not really sure where they are because I was like trying to figure it out from the promo because I'm like, wait, where the heck are they? I wasn't sure if it was like a hospital or like some sort of medical center. I couldn't not figure it out, but I'm just like, where are they?
I think the vibe I got was it was at like one of those like non-hospital slash like midwifery
Okay, I
nursing
sort of got
centers.
that vibe. Like I was like, I don't think they're like somewhere random, but like I still feel like they're at some type of medical facility, whether if it be
Yeah,
something like that. But I was kind of leaning more towards that because like
yeah.
I don't know.
And I was like
Um,
17th floor. Like seriously?
damn, I know it's always when somebody's at like the top floor of a building or just very high up, and I'm like, yeah, of course. Every time an elevator gets stuck, it's always on like so high up, and they have to climb all these stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And then Paul has like this drill in his hands, like, and Marjan's like, "You got it?" And he's like, "Yes, I got it. Go." And Paul is drilling. It looks like obviously like through elevators sometimes like there's like a heavy like brick wall in between, especially like old buildings. And then you hear Paul go like he hit himself when he was drilling. And I think like everyone obviously like he's a new lieutenant, everyone's gonna question him. And obviously on the other side, they don't know why they stopped drilling. And TK is like, wait, why did they stop? And they lose the patient's pulse and they have to start compressions. And then, I don't know, we see a little bit of like what seems like to be that call. And then Owen is in the bunk room with Paul. And then he says, did I make a mistake with you? And I'm like, this is so dramatic.
Right.
Like, they're making it so dramatic. And then I also know in this episode we're seeing obviously Trevor's ex and stuff. And then also they're gonna be going to a hoarder's house that's rat infested. And I'm like,
Ugh.
ew.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be fun.
That's gonna be fun time. Something else that I heard online is the
Creepy.
dispatch. Sarah, she apparently this is her last episode. I
Mm.
had saw that on Twitter the other day and stuff, and like she said like a really good message about like it being her last episode.
Mm.
It was really nice.
So 503 was her last?
Yes.
Oh.
Wait, I'm sorry, I missed that. Whose episode was last? The 503 slash?
Michelle Bonita, who plays the dispatcher supervisor.
Yeah, I was trying to.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I missed what y'all was
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, yeah, this was her last episode. She was trying to figure out, or I was trying to find what she said because I knew I screenshotted it. But I don't know. I loved what she said. She basically said like, yeah, this 3 episode arc was my last episode. This also marks the last episode which my character Sarah Ortiz appears. I am so grateful. Truly, it was an honor to step in her shoes of a female Latina character with gravitas, pride, and compassion, yet suffered no fools. She is a leader, and I got to play her for 3 seasons, and stuff. And she just said, like, thank you to Ryan Murphy, Brad Falchuk, Tim Minear, for making sure positive portrayals of Latinos, Latinas, Latinx were present. It is hugely important for giving the space for accurate representation, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
That was great to read.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
I didn't want to forget to mention that.
Yeah. Yeah, she's
Um,
great. I'm bummed that she won't be in the rest of the season, but I get it. And they're trying to wrap up storylines, and it's probably a lot of people they're coordinating. And
Yeah.
right, which kind of makes sense because it's probably going to be like the last huge disaster they're gonna have,
yeah,
which is kind of weird to
Except
think
for
about.
I wonder what they're gonna be ending the season on.
Yeah. I, yeah, but yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I
I don't
think
know, I don't actually remember really the last show finale I watched, especially one of this kind. So I'm like, I don't know what to expect.
okay, the only thing I have to compare it to is Station 19. And I'm not saying they're gonna do the same thing, but I sort of feel like it could have like a similar ending where we'll see where everyone's going in the future. I think they'll keep it slightly more open. I'm not really sure like if they're gonna do an end of the season disaster like they sometimes do. They'll probably do like they'll probably do some sort of like big major thing. And I definitely have like things in my mind where I'd like to see everyone at, which obviously when the finale comes closer we can talk about. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
don't
be
know
great.
what more to
We're-
say. So we can
yeah,
end.
3-12. So we're moving forward and holding on to everything we can.
Thank you guys so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and also check out our website, 91lsroundup.com. You guys can follow the podcast on our socials at 91lsroundup on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. Also, be sure to join our Discord server. The link is in the description of this podcast and also on our website. You guys can follow me, Katie, at Full of Charles on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads.
You guys can follow me, Grace, at RonanRafla911 on Instagram and at SheepGirl31 on Twitter.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and just about anywhere. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.